I'm going to call the Public Power Hour to order, and first up is Mr. Aaron Henson. Aaron, I'm going to have you come on up and state your name and address for the record. And although there's not a ton of people here, we are live streaming this, so there are a lot of people watching it.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you, but speak into the microphone.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good.
My name's Aaron Henson. I live at 933 Mitchell Lane in Evans, Georgia. And I'm here to pitch a business idea to you. So imagine you're walking in North Augusta on a beautiful Saturday morning. You see families headed toward the Greenway, people hanging out on the riverfront, couples looking for something fun to do together. Now imagine there's a row of electric bikes on the sidewalk just waiting to be rented. 30 seconds later, you scan a QR code, and 30 seconds later, you're riding. No storefront, no paperwork, no hassle. Just another reason to spend the day in North Augusta. My name's Aaron Henson, and I'd like to turn that vision into a reality for North Augusta. This idea actually began nearly 8 years ago when my wife and I were driving through Pennsylvania to watch the Ohio State Buckeyes whoop up on Penn State. Go Bucks. We had some time to kill, so we stopped in Harrisburg for lunch. It was certainly not a destination city, but they had one feature that stuck with us, electric bikes that were available right on the sidewalk. So we scanned the QR code and rented a couple of bikes. For about an hour, we explored the city in a way we never would have been able to on foot or in a car. It wasn't just transportation, it became part of the experience. The following weekend, we came home and we were visiting the Greenway here in North Augusta, and I remember telling my wife, it would be great if we had something like that right here where, people like us who don't have the space to necessarily own bikes and don't want to transport them over here, we could just kind of park our car, rent a bike, and go. So at that time, it was just an idea that we kind of dismissed as too expensive. We researched a little bit, too expensive, too time consuming, or just too difficult to get approved. Life moved on, and since that day, we've welcomed 2 beautiful daughters into our family. And just like our family, North Augusta has grown in huge ways and is now, I think, one of the most attractive communities in the Southeast and certainly in the CSRA. Today, I believe our e-bike rental business makes more sense than ever before for North Augusta. All the growth that you've seen around the Greenway and the riverfront, apartment communities, hotels, lots of tourism. I think it just makes a lot more sense now than it did even 8 years ago. So my vision is simple. We want to strategically place smart bike racks throughout the city that would allow residents and visitors to unlock an e-bike from their phone, ride anywhere along the Greenway and connecting trail systems all over the city into Augusta as well, and eventually return it to the same station or another station that we could expand into later as the venture is successful and proves itself. So whether somebody wants to spend an afternoon exploring, ride to dinner, attend an event at SRP Park, or even commute to work, this system would give them another way to enjoy our city. And because the system is automated, it operates without a storefront, without on-site employees, keeping costs low while providing a convenient public amenity. So why am I the right person to build it? I've called the CSRA home since 2014. When I moved here from Ohio, a coworker lovingly told me that Northerners are like hemorrhoids. They come down, they're a pain in the butt, and then they go back up. Well, I'm one that never went back up. I've made this community my home, and in 2024, I founded College Hunks Hauling Junk and Moving here in Augusta. Since then, we've grown into a 7-figure business with multiple trucks, a talented team, and systems that allow us to operate professionally every day. Those same trucks, employees, and operational experience give me the resources to maintain an e-bike system the way North Augusta deserves, with excellence. My goal isn't simply to start another business, it's to create something that makes people smile, something that encourages family to spend more time together, something to get them off their screens, and something that gives visitors one more reason to stay a little longer. And I think this will be something that reflects the innovative, welcoming spirit that has made North Augusta one of the best places to live. Years ago, my wife and I rented 2 bikes in a city we barely remember. Today, I don't remember where we ate or what we ordered, but I still remember riding those bikes together and the good time that we had. I'd love to give thousands of families the opportunity to create memories like that right here in North Augusta. thank you for your time, and I appreciate your consideration.
All right, Aaron, I'll start first, and these folks can jump into afterwards. Well, first of all, I think it's a great idea. I love e-bikes. You know, my adult kids, whether it's in Charlotte or Greenville, I mean, they're so used to it. You go to any town, big town has it, right?
Yeah.
And I've actually e-biked through Central Park and in New York, so I think it's a great idea. I'm very supportive of that. I will tell you, this is very timely because the only negative that I'm going to tell you is right now, and I think brings up an opportunity for us to have this conversation. We don't allow any electrical vehicles on the greenway. So there's been debate over the last few years about that, because the reality is there are people using it, right? I mean, I see them on e-bikes all the time. So I don't know that it doesn't merit that conversation for us, because I think the Greenway would need to be a piece of that you would want besides just the city of North Augusta, I would guess.
Yes, sir.
But I know how people are, and we already have citizens, which is rightly so. There are folks who just ride their regular bicycles, who train on our Greenway, and they whiz past you, So, and that's an issue that we hear about. So e-bikes, again, you gotta be careful, because
Sure.
you go off the road, whatever. So I like the idea. I'm very open to it. And, if council is, I think it'd warrant us to maybe have a study session and have the conversation and figure out, does it make sense? Does the Greenway need to be that way? So I don't know what your thoughts are. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I don't know much about e-bikes. I've never been on one, but I know there are different grades of them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes,
Someone
sir.
had asked me about
Yes, sir.
what level bike would be acceptable for them. Can you educate me on those levels?
Right. So what I would propose to alleviate some of the safety concern. There's always going to be a safety concern. You can ride a manual bike really fast too, but I think one of the beauties of having a set vendor in place is that I can govern all the bikes, across the whole fleet. I can set a maximum speed at 15 miles an hour or whatever we feel is appropriate.
Oh, that's
so then you're getting a lot more control than you have currently, where people are riding e-bikes on the trail with no governor on it. And I think that currently you don't have any enforcement on the trails. So, right now it's could be the wild, wild west, depending on who's out there. But we can definitely put some controls in place that'll tighten all that up.
That's great. I know you could do that.
How much of the city would you say is bike-friendly for an e-bike?
Yeah, I mean, I think, certainly the whole Greenway, obviously, and then being able to cross the bridge over into Augusta opens up another world, and then connecting to the canal trail over there. And then I was reading, and haven't been able to confirm this, but I think it was a news report about a new pedestrian connector that's going to be down around the Topgolf area. So I think, you're going to get to a point where there's a nice loop that people can enjoy. And then, over in Evans and Columbia County, there's trail systems that are starting to spring up too. So I think you could easily, within the next, 5 to 10 years, probably have 100 miles of trails that you could connect, with these bike stations.
Does your concept of an e-bike include a helmet?
So we would have to figure out a way to provide that. If we were going to do that, that changes the simplicity of it.
It's not required for someone to wear a helmet, correct?
Well, I mean, it's not a requirement,
No,
but
it's
that's
advisable, yeah.
right. It would definitely advise that they wear a helmet. And my thought is they could just have their own helmet that they bring, or they don't wear one. If
Right.
I don't know if currently most people are wearing helmets on manual bikes or not, but it wouldn't really be any different in concept of what people are doing now as far as that goes.
John, you'd hate, just like softball, I tell my children, you have your own helmet. And I'm not being ugly, but headlights.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to put on a helmet somebody else has used.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think Pat, do you have a question? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a great idea too. I mean, I think anything, and I love the idea of being able to access the Greenway on it, but I really like the idea of being able to access maybe other parts of the city. Anything that can pull cars off the road, I think is great. and this is my own ignorance, so just for clarification, I know I've been to cities, and I think it's more the scooters than the bikes, but you see them just laying everywhere. I'm assuming these would have to be docked for for it to work, right? I mean,
Yes, sir.
Can people just decide at, wherever place they want to go, this is where I'm done with the bike, and they drop it there, and they're just bikes laying all over the city?
Yeah, so I started with kind of the more conservative approach, which I thought would be more likely to get approved. We could, if we see it being successful and we like it, we could go to that model where you leave bikes. But to me, that just doesn't fit the aesthetic of North Augusta or, even Columbia County for that matter. So my thought was, start with the docking stations. They're smart docking stations, so they'll unlock with a QR code. They can be solar powered or powered off of a nearby building or electrical infrastructure, and they can be. There's a couple of different models. They can be bolted to the sidewalk, or they can have base plates where they're weighted and they just sit on the sidewalk, so there's no harm to the sidewalk. But yeah, they can be. It could be like that if that's the direction we wanted to go with it eventually.
But if somebody did that, you would have the way to track them. I mean, if somebody decided for whatever reason, I'm going here and I'm just leaving it and walking off, because they bought it with their app or whatever, would you be able to track that?
Yes, sir. There'll be GPS on each bike, and I'll have a dashboard that allows me to have visibility over the whole fleet, where the bikes are located, how much battery power is left in each one, and I'll have the trucks and the staff to support any battery swaps or whole bike swaps that need to be done throughout the day. We can do that with our existing fleet of trucks and staff.
I mean, my concern wasn't so much about tracking the bikes. That's his problem. It's just bikes laying on the sidewalk all over the place because people get riding them and just drop them there. So in that case, they've already paid for it. And as I
Right.
said, I've been to cities to where
They do that.
that you have to put them at they have to end up at a place. I don't know if
Yep.
you put a deposit back and you don't get it refunded unless you put it in a designated space.
Yes, sir.
And I've been to cities where there are scooters and bikes not laying all over the place, but kind of laying all over the place. We would just want to think that through. But again, I'm totally supportive. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great idea. I have a son that lives in Denver, and they're everywhere. I mean, they leave them everywhere. So I would like to see maybe that not be the case here. But I think it'd be really cool maybe partner with Augusta as well, and maybe have some stations over there where you can go back and forth and things like
Yeah,
that.
that is my long-term plan. I've already kind of mapped out where I would want additional stations, but to me, the most lucrative place to start would be right here at the Greenway, where, people are running into the same scenario that my wife and I had.
Yeah.
And then, another vision is have like a monthly subscription where people that live in these apartments or commuting maybe to the hospitals could, pay a monthly subscription and access the bikes anytime they want. And then have bike racks in those areas as well.
And so you have the ability to have the stations at different locations, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they range in size of as small as like 5 bikes all the way up to 20 bikes. So we would probably start with 15 to 20 bikes. My ideal location would be basically right at the exit of the parking garage that's located right here. I don't know if I'm pointing in the right direction. I think it's there. To where people could just park their car and hop on one and go ride wherever they want.
Well, I think this is real timely, and I think this will spur us to, I'll get with our administration, we'll get a study session set up and have our folks do some homework in preparation for that, because we gotta go down that road first.
Yes, sir.
But I think what I'd like to hear from everybody is I think we're all open to it. It's a good idea. You're the first one that really kind of brought it to our attention like this. I know somebody at one point was talking about renting space out there next to Highlander at one time. But anyway, this is very impressive. I love the idea of controlling the speed. That's huge.
One more question. E-bikes, I understand, are there e-scooters?
There are.
Okay. And those are, I mean, just like a two-wheeled scooter that you get on. I see people riding those all over
Yes,
the
sir.
place as well.
Yep.
Is that part of your plan?
I really was interested in the e-bikes for whatever reason, but
Yeah.
maybe it's just because I've never been into scooters personally. But I mean, I'm open to anything that you guys are willing to allow me to do. Even if it ends up not being e-bikes, if it has to be manual bikes, I'm open to that as well. So don't, please don't take this as rigid from me.
Yeah, my guess is I think the e-bikes is going to allow you to reach out to a larger population here in North Augusta. Scooters are, you got to be coordinated, and I mean, we don't. I'd be happy with bikes. I think let John do the scooter.
Not me.
All right, Aaron, very good, sir. We'll be in touch if you will. You got all his information. All right, we'll keep you posted.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. Really appreciate your time. Y'all have a great night.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Anybody else? He sent an email, so that's why he gets to go first. So, anybody else interested in saying anything? You good, young lady?
I have a scooter story.
I got.
I do, Lori. I hit a wall in Nashville.
I hope you had your helmet on. Hope you had. Yeah, scooters make me nervous. Scooters are more dangerous. Yeah.
No, it was my own fault. It has nothing to do with it. I was trying to keep up with my son, of course, who don't, been on scooters.
There you go.
Not him.
That's right.
It's left in the dust.
We'll keep it open just for a few minutes in case somebody shows up, and then we'll shut it down. I'm gonna give one last chance. Anybody in the audience need to talk to us, the public power hour, before I shut us down? All right, we are closing the public power, and we'll start back our city council meeting at 6 o'clock sharp. Thanks. All right, good evening. Welcome to the call to order of the City of North Augusta City Council meeting for July the 6th, 2026. Good to see everybody. Thank y'all for being here. You are welcome to join me in prayer. Dear God, I ask for discernment for this council. I ask that we have a servant heart as we do the work of the city. I ask that we are purposeful in our actions, that we listen to our citizens and each other, and that we strive to honor you in our decisions. Amen. If you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. All right, roll call from my left.
John Felak.
Pat Carpenter?
Britton Williams.
Kevin Toole.
David Buck.
All right, item 4, approval of minutes. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions to the regular city council meeting minutes of June the 15th, 2026, or the study session minutes of June the 29th, 2026? All right, hearing none, they stand approved as distributed. So I'm going to read a proclamation. This is pretty amazing. This year, we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Nike Peach Jam. And we will be having the Nike, we'll have Mayor Garnett Johnson from Augusta, we'll have the Sports Council, and a lot of folks, probably about 150 people, and our 4th floor of our building on Thursday night to kind of kick off the start of the Nike Peach Jam, and we'll read a proclamation, this proclamation at that point, and we'll give to them. But anyway, wanted to read this proclamation on the 30th anniversary of the Nike Peach Jam. Whereas Nike Grassroots Basketball requested the rental of the Riverview Park Activity Center in 1996 for the inaugural Nike Peach Basket Classic, featuring Nike's top 24 17 and under summer basketball teams. And whereas in 1997 the tournament name was changed to the Nike Peach Jam, and whereas the success of the Nike Peach Jam has been a collaboration effort from the City of North Augusta Parks and Recreation Department, First Baptist Church of North Augusta, True North Church of North Augusta, and the Augusta Sports Council. And whereas the Nike Peach Jam event has brought numerous out-of-state visitors to our community and contributed to the economic well-being of the community and region. And whereas the Nike Peach Jam's 30th anniversary provides an opportunity to reflect on the impact that the tournament has brought in putting North Augusta and Augusta in the national spotlight. And now, therefore, I, Britton S. Williams, Mayor of the City of North Augusta, South Carolina, do hereby proclaim July 2026 as the month to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Nike Peach Jam at the Riverview Park Activity Center in the City of North Augusta, recognizing the tournament's lasting value and contributions to our community. Witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and cause the official seal of the City of North Augusta, South Carolina, to be affixed the 6th day of July 2026. And I don't know how many of y'all follow professional basketball, but the New York Knickerbockers won the NBA championship. And I didn't know this until Clint Bryan, who was the retired former coach at Augusta State, told us. But the MVP this year, an MVP, was a gentleman, last name was Brunson. He was here at Nike Peach Jam 10 years ago. And the number 1 player for the San Antonio Spurs, I think that's who they played, I think it was his first year. He was also here in 2016 with Brunson. So it's pretty amazing. So anyway, our Parks and Rec folks, whether it's Jeremy Junis, Down, and Rick, and the whole team, everybody comes together to make this a very successful event. So.
And can I say one thing,
You sure
Mayor?
can.
And really, Nike Peach Jam, they say these boys travel all over the United States all summer long. They're never home. And one thing I love, you walk in, back where the racquetball, they have a barber shop set up for them. And I walked in one day, I said, what in the world? That looks like barber chairs. And they said it is, because these boys cannot stop long enough to get a haircut. So they do that. But one of the they love North Augusta because, and this has been said over and over, the hospitality that our city shows, and the young boys will say, because the food is good Southern food, chicken strips, mac and cheese, and they comment, we don't go to another city that we're treated like we are in North Augusta.
And that's why I'm glad they recognize First Baptist and True North, because those folks take time to talk to the student, the kids, you know? So anyway, good stuff. All right, we're going to jump now into old business, item 6, Recreation, Parks and Recreation, ordinance number 2026-12, granting an easement on city property that includes Somerville Park to Dominion Energy South Carolina, Inc. for replacement facilities to serve North Augusta Middle School. Do I have a motion to approve this ordinance on second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I think that was Mr. Buck was first, and I think Mayor Pro Tem Toole was second. Kevin, anything you want to share about this? I mean, I feel like this has been on the agenda for about a month.
Mr. Mayor and Council, really just for the citizens that are watching this for the first time, whether here in chambers or online, this is, even though it's listed as a Parks and Rec and affects Summerfield Park, this is really a request from the Aiken County School District, and this is in support of the North Augusta Middle School rehabilitation project. And so in order to do the work they need to do, they have to remove some utility lines, and that affects their placement in Summerfield Park. And so that's what really the root of this request is. We've had engineers from the Aiken County School District come and give a presentation to council previously to lay out what the ask is, and that's all laid out here in the packet as far as the easement requirements. And so that is what's up for consideration, and the city council had obviously voted affirmatively the first reading to let this pass, and it's now to you for a second reading, and I'll pause for any questions.
Okay, are there any citizen comments? All right, hearing none. Are there any council discussion? All right, we'll ask for a vote. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. All right, now we're in new business. Item 7, Planning Development Ordinance number 2026-13, to change the corporate limits of the city of North Augusta by accepting the petition requesting annexation by the landowners and annexing plus or minus 0.16 acres of property located off Lake Greenwood Drive and owned by the Lakes LLC. We have a motion to approve this ordinance on first reading.
So moved.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Toole first. Is there a second? All right, Ms. Carpenter, thank you. Anything you'd like to share about this, Mr. Clifford?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, I know this is something also that we discussed at length in the study session, but just as a reminder for council members, this really is to incorporate a road connection between Lake Greenwood Drive and another street that's going in for a new townhome subdivision. This is a bit of an odd situation because you have two units of government involved, because some of the land involved is in Aiken County, and this is to be annexed into City of North Augusta. And at the end of the day, the road is still going to be going in there. This access road is going to be accomplished one way or the other. The question really for the council is, do we want that to fall into the city's inventory for a road maintenance perspective? And the staff recommendation is that you would accept that petition for annexation, because then we can add that to the road maintenance program. When you have a private road, what you see sometimes is those roads are not maintained well until they get to a point of complete disrepair, and then a landowner will try to then punt it on to the city or the county to take care of. So ultimately, I think we can maintain the road network in a positive way to our standards, and so this would allow us to do so. And I brought Tommy Paradise, our planning director, here again, so if you have specific questions about this development, and understand that Lakes and Streams as a neighborhood is largely in Aiken County, although there are small portions of Lakes and Stream that are actually in the city limits of North Augusta.
And I know one of the questions that got asked was the Lake Greenwood piece will be handled, maintenance, all that's going to be covered by EMS and all that through the county, and then our section that we're annexing, that will be all done within our code and our folks, right?
Anything that's inside the city limits, Mr. Mayor, has to conform to our code from a building and development perspective, so that affects the road. But from an emergency service perspective, if there was a law enforcement require call out, that would then fall to public safety and Chief Johnson's purview.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Clifford? Okay, are there any citizen comments? All right, any council discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. First reading. Item 8, planning and development. Ordinance number 2026-14, amending ordinance number 2004-14, which approved the general development plan for North Augusta Golf Venture Plan Development to modify the use of a plus or minus .30 acre parcel located on Landing Drive, tax parcel number 007-18-02-002. Do you have a motion to approve this ordinance on first reading? Ms. Carpenter, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Tool, thank you. Anything you'd like to share about this, Mr. Clifford?
Mr. Mayor, Council, obviously this was discussed at length in the study session, but again, for our folks who are just watching for the first time, there's a very small undeveloped piece of land that's in between the Landings condominium, which are those 3-story buildings that you see when you first enter North Augusta from the 13th Street Bridge. On the right-hand side of the bridge, there's a small piece of property between those 3-story buildings and the river, essentially. And so there was some existing rules with the PD, the plan development there, that said that the ratio within that lot had to be a certain way, and it had to be more commercial than residential. And the applicant has requested to basically switch the ratios, I think 75-25 in favor of residential over commercial. And so that was the ask from the applicant. And so that's what's before you for consideration and decision this evening.
This did come in front of the planning commission.
It did, and my understanding is that the planning commission did not recommend approval of this action.
Okay, very good. All right, any questions, Ms. Clifford?
Yep.
Okay.
What,
Ms. Pat?
what kind of residential will it be? Because I remember when those those townhomes were built, there was a big mess back in those days, because there wasn't, I think they were too close to the bridge. You know, people were talking about that. So what kind of residential will be put there?
The city has not received plans for what the residential could or would be, nor is that, I think, a requirement for the PD changes. The applicant could certainly speak to that if you wish to hear what their plan for the facility is. They are.
We'll get to that.
Oh, we're gonna hold on.
Yeah, you're jumping
Sit
ahead.
tight, yeah.
Okay, then we're just asking
Okay, because in the of course, I don't go to planning commission meetings, but what about the residents right where it is gonna be? What is their thoughts? Were they there?
I don't have any feedback from the direct residents. I know there was concern from the homeowners association and the River Club. They were active in this particular engagement, and I think the initial concern that we had from the HOA is that the ordinance was actually mislabeled as, this is showing as Landing Drive, which is the correct address, and it was originally listed as Shoreline Drive. And so I think the HOA had some concerns that this was going to be in a different location. And so as this has now properly been labeled on Landing Drive, I've not heard any more feedback from the homeowners association on that, but I'll defer to Tommy to see if we've had any citizen feedback, and the answer is no.
So, and I guess this young man, when he speaks, I just don't want it to be so crowded. That it,
You need to go down and look at it. The space
Yeah.
is the size of the space is enough for 1,400
Yeah, but I just
square
remember
foot.
what we
So,
had when
Yeah, well, that's something,
this was
you gotta
not-
go look at it before our second vote, I'm
Yeah,
telling
okay,
you.
yeah, I
So you
will.
just get you need a visual.
Okay.
That's all I would tell you.
My only question, Tommy, is we had a pretty vigorous discussion about it, I think, last time. Has your input changed based on that discussion and the questions answered, or basically your concerns, any changes in that since our last discussion?
No, sir.
Okay.
It is, from my point of view, it's a council decision of what that ratio should be. And Mr. Zier may correct me, but I don't know anything in state law that says it has to be X percentage of commercial. But we do need to maintain that mix there to comply with the PD.
Okay, thank you.
But it's going from PD to residential.
It's still in the PD, Councilwoman. You're just changing the ratios of that one piece of land. It's not the overall ratio of the development. You're talking about on that particular parcel, it was meant to be 75% commercial, 25% residential, and they're asking for the flip. So it sounds like they want to be able to put more residential on that property as opposed to a commercial.
Yeah, and then why did the planning commission turn it down?
Well, they didn't turn it down, they're just making a recommendation, and I believe the recommendation was unanimous for non-concurrence, and I believe they had to do with the density of residential.
Okay.
Here I am telling to turn my microphone on. I was about to say, if it helps if I turn my microphone first, if you would, say your name and address for the record and speak into the microphone, please.
Thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. My name is Lance Cheeley. My address is 1104 Campbellton Drive, North Augusta, South Carolina. I am representing the owner, which is Savannah Construction. I'm not sure if I have a minute to just
You have
summarize.
time.
Okay.
Yep.
So we did go before the Planning Commission a couple weeks ago. Prior to that, we met with Tommy to discuss the parcel. Upon originally being engaged, we pulled all the PD ordinances going back to 2004, I believe.
Lance, let me help you. Don't worry about looking there or around, just speak into the microphone, look straight, because we
Lose me?
live stream it,
Okay.
and it sounds like I can hear you, but people watching it.
Understood.
So just
I'll
look
speak
straight
right
ahead
in.
and
I'll
talk.
speak directly into the mic.
Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, so we did that. We understand that there's been some previous changes in the ordinance, more having to do with the whole area than this site specifically. But on a meeting with Tommy, understood that our owner had potentially wanted to just do residential. But upon review of the code and Tommy's interpretation and clarification of the law, we understood that we had to have some commercial component. At that point, we started discussing what would satisfy the intent of the law and meet the owner's request, as well as an underlying feeling, myself as a citizen and others, that residential might be a better fit in that area as opposed to commercial. And so doing that, we came up with a 25-75 split that seemed to be fair, not seem like something that was skirting the law, and we landed there. And so when coming to you today, we don't have plans for a building. We don't have even a site plan, because so much is dependent on the building types that we would use. There are a lot of site-related questions that I would love to have a little bit better answer for, such as parking and things like that are really, you can't even start until you understand what the mix is and what this board would allow. I would like to say that we, as my owner, is prepared to develop in whatever circumstances there are. Since the acquisition, they've come to learn a little bit more about what the parcel. They've had it since 2009, but never really turned the pages on it. So we are looking to develop. We will obviously concur with all the requirements whichever we go of the North Augusta ordinance and the PD that was passed long ago. But we do continue. One thing, we do continue to desire residential fully, or as much residential as we can. One thing I would like to just say on my behalf, just speaking from my perspective. My initial interpretation, or my initial thought, having done this a time or two, was that we would get some significant pushback from the residences on a commercial use in that area. The intensity, the things that brings along. Usually, I've seen these seats full and lots of people, but it wasn't the case at planning. I won't speak for anybody here tonight, but that doesn't seem to be the case. What I would really hate, was to see whichever way it goes, for us to come in with something that is compliant, is what the letter of the law says, is what we've gone through this and landed on, and then the community come out and say, well, that's not really what we wanted. So I don't know that what I guess this is everybody's time tonight, but I would just want to say we are comfortable and happy to develop whichever way that the ordinance goes, but I do think it's an important decision for the council to, really deliberate on what we think the citizens would want and what also meets the requirements of the law. So we'll leave that obviously with you guys tonight, but thank you again for the opportunity. Oh, Ms. Carpenter, I would like to just address, if we do residential, the general thought would be to match the character of what is there now. Nothing extremely taller, nothing, nothing that would be out of character with that. And in addition to that, as you know, there are some units there within that development. Some are, under parking, so garage parking. So that gives us some parking flexibility to meet demands as far as needing on-street parking versus that. And then there are some units that are served by on-street parking, so you don't have parking underneath. So again, I would love to have come in with a lot more fully formed plan. I think people can get their mind around something they can see on paper a little bit more sometimes. But we do think there are some viable and some ways that will fit really nicely with the character of North Augusta and the character of that area specifically, if we're allowed to swing more on the residential side. If we're required to do more on the commercial side, it does tie our hands a little bit more as to, we're not going to park under our restaurant, et cetera, et cetera. So we will kind of, with that added parking requirement, need some space that we do have some accommodations for, both within the PD that was passed under the bridge, as well as some conversations that we've had with the DOT due to some requests they have for our property. So again, we have thought through, we respect, I'm a citizen, and so we definitely do want what's best for the community. But we do want to go ahead and exercise our right to develop on the parcel, so we leave that in you guys' hands tonight. And thank you for your
Just have one suggestion, maybe. I know you said you did not have a lot of talk from the people who live there.
Yes, ma'am.
Did they specifically know, I mean, a lot of our citizens don't know, even though it's published, is there, I presume, a zoning sign down there that says, consider rezoning?
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
That those residents knew this was coming before council. If not-
Councilwoman, there was a public notice that was
Okay.
posted for this particular action for the planning commission, so I think there was, that people don't go door to door knocking to let people know there's a planning action occurred, but there were notices that were placed for them to be notified.
Well, I would, and maybe this is too much to ask, but maybe y'all could speak with some of them. Just don't put something up and they, wow. Who? Okay, and they're happy? Okay, but that, I'm wanting to say, just when you're right up under the nose of somebody, they need to know a little bit about it, other than it happening, then we're gonna tell you.
Sure. No, I understand that. And I did have the opportunity to meet with I believe it was 4 different constituents after the planning meeting. Their major concern was parking, to be frank. One of that mainly came from Mr. Butler, who I believe is maybe the head of the POA. Okay. And then there were a couple of other landowners who really didn't understand what the request was, and having a brief conversation with them, it was very clear that they didn't understand in the meeting, but they had a better understanding after a conversation of, this is currently slated to be commercial. We actually really want it to be residential, that we're not allowed. And so having a brief conversation, there were, this is, I guess, off the record, nothing we can put in the books, but we did have that experience. So we're open to whatever recommendation.
Well, I just know people want to know up front versus behind.
Right.
And that'll make everything run a lot smoother.
Agree.
Questions for him? All right, are there any other citizen comment? Thank you. Lance. Any other citizen comments? Okay, council discussion.
Yeah, I have a comment,
Well-
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a tendency in these positions to side with the property owner of what he wants to do with the property and how he wants to develop it. The change in zoning, to me, I don't completely understand. I think there's more of a commercial effort that's needed, which to me would require more parking versus their desire to put in residential, which I think would require less on-street parking. So I've heard a couple objections to the project, and I'm uncomfortable in saying yes or no, actually in either way, until I can get some more information on it. So I have a tendency to side with the developer if that's what he wants to do, and he can do it in his in the zoning that's there. The change in zoning is something that I would be concerned about. To me, it sounds like it's better to have it in residential if parking is the big issue.
Possibly, if I may, Tommy, speak up if I'm incorrect. This is not a zoning change. This is solely a change to the development agreement that they negotiated, and they wanted to be able to develop this 75% commercial, 25% residential.
That's the remaining lot.
Of that piece of property that they own. This piece of property, that was what it was provided to, it was agreed to. What they're asking is to change that. Doesn't change zoning, doesn't do,
Okay.
It just says we can develop 75% residential and 25% commercial, and we will not be violating the development agreement. And that's what they're asking for. And, you know, it doesn't change really anything else. And I think I mentioned last week, council has the authority to deal with this either way you choose to.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're getting way ahead asking what kind of houses, what kind of commercial or whatever, because they can't even plan that. So they determine whether you're going to be able to do it which way, 75, 25. And then any actual development would have to come back through the planning commission and site plans and all of that. But this is not a zoning change.
So I piggyback just on what John said, and I understand that, Kelly, and thanks for the clarification. I think where I'm torn is I tend to agree that residential makes the most sense there. I agree from a traffic I mean, I think the concern that the few people that have spoken to me, concern's been traffic. I think you have that regardless of what goes in there, but there's probably more pressure just because of what can go there and how it would be constructed with commercials. So I feel like residential alleviates that as well. And I also understand, you know, they negotiated the original PD, and that was years ago, and that was well before sort of what ultimately became Riverside Village became. So the market's changed, the area's changed, a lot of those things have changed. So I'm relatively comfortable making the change. I think where I'm uncomfortable, based on the feedback we got last week, is there seems like there could potentially be legal barriers based on what the expectation of a PD is on, and I know there's no minimum requirement for commercial in there, so I think the only thing that gives me any hesitation in approving it is just not having some assurance that we don't change it. We've not conformed to what the intent of a PD is by minimizing the commercial. I think John asked a good question, and I don't know, and I've looked and done what research I can. I mean, it's located on a very large commercial development, and I realize that's a private club, although you can eat there, and there's some other things like that, but it's still commercial, and I can't find anywhere where it differentiates that, but I'm also not an attorney. So again, I'm not sure I added any clarity to the conversation with those comments, but I think that's what I think it makes more sense across the board for that to be primarily residential. It's a small footprint regardless. So I'm inclined to support it. I'd like to have some assurance that in doing so is not going to put the city in any sort of legal jeopardy.
One more comment, Mayor. I read somewhere, there's a lot of information, but I read somewhere where the commercial development, it was trying to make that particular development the customer. It wasn't generally a commercial space that is going to draw outside people in. It was more of a service to the people that are living in that community. Is that relevant, and is that true?
Well, I'm not sure, and again, something else I think that you had asked about what the PD was required. We are following the procedure for amending a planned development for the PD. And so you're totally within your authority. I'm not concerned beyond that. This is the way you do it if you choose to do it.
I mean, I've had a couple, I've met one of the property owners, I had to go down there and see it myself. And, I mean, I'll be real frank, I mean, the space is so small. I think it's ridiculous that, I guess they just crammed that in there for the plant to say mixed use at some point, because I don't even think it's attractive for even a little bit of residential, it definitely is commercial. I mean, it's a beautiful green space. I've talked to one of the people that live in the house on the far left. So I don't see how anybody lives on that front part would want to have that green space destroyed with a residential. I just don't see it. My concern is the parking. That's what I heard from Mr. Butler, who sent me an email, the gentleman here. The other thing that was brought up was there was a gentleman who got turned down at the BZA because they wanted to put a law office in one of the home-based, they wanted the house to be a home-based business for a legal office. In the city, the BZA turned them down for that because that did not fit the plan code as far as with parking, the concern there. So again, people are saying, well, gee, y'all turned us down for this, but you're going to override this. So I think there's just some of that. But anyway, to me, I don't think the piece of property is attractive enough. I think it's attractive for me personally as it is. And I mean, if I'm the developer, I'm trying to make money. I get it. I'm 100% with you on that. I just don't see that property. I know we aren't, if he wants to build 75% commercial, he can do that, and that's fantastic. But I don't see any need, I don't see why we need to add a little bit more residential. That's what we've been hit about, residential, residential, residential. And to take this last little bit of green space there, it's planned right now, 75 commercial, we can't stop that. But to turn that into residential, for me, I'm not going to vote for it.
I agree with you.
Any other council discussion? Okay. Yeah, keep at it.
So if it gets turned down tonight,
It's the first reading, we still got one more reading.
one more, okay. Yeah, because maybe we could get this
Say what?
in more, little information, more information.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
that's
turned
what I'm
out.
saying, yeah.
This is the first
So,
reading.
but then how long would it be before they could, a year before they could come back?
See, I don't know whether, on a regular rezoning, it's a year. And I don't know whether to modify PD, whether it'd be different. I'd have to look.
Do we know? So you don't know yet? So my thing would be to vote on it tonight, and then we got the second reading, because I know once we say no, it's over.
You're allowed to vote how you want.
Oh, I know I can. I can do anything I want to.
Yeah, I know.
So, but I'm gonna vote tonight for it. And then that'll give us a week if there's something else Tommy or Jim or JD could add to the pot for us. That way we're not knocking them out altogether.
Well, any more council discussion? All right, I'm going to ask for a vote. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. All right, that is 2. All opposed is 3, so it's turned down 3 to 2. All right, item 9, administration. Ordinance number 2026-15, amending Article 15, Section 2-286 through 2-290 of the Code of Ordinance to reclassify the position tourism manager as tourism director. Do you have a motion to approve this ordinance on first reading?
So moved.
All right, that's Mr. Buck, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Phelan, thank you, sir. Anything you'd like to share about this, Mr. Clifford or Jay?
Mr. Mayor, I'll turn this over to JD in a moment, but just for the council members and for the folks that are watching for the first time, items 9 and 10, ordinance number 2026-15 and number 2026-16 are linked. Those are two separate actions, but are encompassing the whole thing that the staff is requesting. So the first item there, 2026-15, the one you're voting on currently, which amends Article 15, essentially establishes the tourism department as being led by a tourism director. We had made a decision when tourism was pulled out of Parks and Rec at the time to maintain it at the manager level based on the number of personnel managed and responsibilities of that billet. But as the next item that's for consideration, 26-16, which is removing the Greenway team from Parks and Rec and putting into tourism, that we believe elevates that position and responsibilities to a director level here within the city staff. So the first thing you have before you is to reclassify that position, and then the second item you have, which is the line of block chart chain of moving the 3-person Greenway team out from the Parks and Rec into the tourism, newly established tourism director to have the managerial aspects there. So I'll pause for any questions, or if JD wants to weigh in from that particular aspect, I'm
So
happy to
you
do
talked about 9 and 10, basically.
Yeah, we
Item
can
9
talk
and
each of
10.
those separately, but 9 is essentially elevating the position of the tourism manager to the tourism director, and then the follow-on action is the moving the personnel over from parks to tourism.
Now, Jim, will the people you're moving from park and recreation to be with the tourism, does that mean you have to have 3 more people to clean the greenway?
No,
Or
ma'am,
they
this
continue
is
to-
a managerial change to.
Yeah, but I mean number 10, is it 10?
10 is, all 10 is doing is moving the 3 personnel that currently work in Parks and Rec and are managed by Parks and Rec to be managed by tourism.
So, but they'll still do their regular job?
Yes,
Those 3 that sweep the greenway, blow the greenway?
That's their
That
primary.
will not change?
That's their primary focus.
And I presume that was discussed with these 3 employees?
Well, not every single employee. We talked to the manager of the employees.
I mean, but wouldn't you think as a person you would want to be talked to if,
No, it's not an employee, it's not an employee decision.
well, it's not
We're
an employee, but just say we go, I mean,
We're gonna make the decision that we think is best for the city of North
Yeah.
Augusta. I mean, I don't think we ask their approval.
well, you don't have to have the
It's not
approval, but I
changing their
just
job.
think out of respect, I mean, I'd hate for my boss to come up and say, well, Pat, you gonna do this from now on, not what
It's
you
the same-
done.
No, you're missing, they aren't changing their.
No,
job.
I know they're not changing, but I like, I'm telling you, like I told somebody a minute ago, people like to be informed.
Councilman, I think
I
this
mean,
is well.
I'm sorry, I
this-
just
Well, they know
think that's
about
what
it.
you call RESPECT.
I've managed a number of large organizations throughout my career, Councilwoman. I can tell you that these employees are aware that this discussion is ongoing. I can't tell you whether every single person thinks this is the best idea in the whole wide world or
Well,
not,
it was
but I
only
can,
3 of them, isn't it?
that's right. But I can
Sounds
also
like
tell
it's
you that we're not running a union shop either, so we didn't do a democratic vote on whether they wanted to work
Well,
for
I
Parks
mean,
and
and
Rec
I
or tourism.
know as a boss, you have that right, but I'm telling you, a lot of teams are not spoken up front. Then, like we see, we hear it on Facebook and fussing, and whether it was noticed, put up front, it's okay. I mean, I'm gonna vote for it. I have nothing against it. But I'm sorry. I'm a people person, and I want people to know what's happening.
I think they're well informed that this decision was going to be staffed and was discussed with the employees long before this came to
All
council.
right, well, so if I ask them, they're gonna say, yeah, we knew about it.
They will. I'm not sure if they'll tell you they like the idea or not, but I can definitely tell you that they were informed that it was happening.
Yeah, all right.
Mr. Clifford, does the Greenway team have a home? Where do they keep their equipment?
So currently, they have their equipment in Parks and Rec, and we're going to move them out to a different location, so there's a physical separation, and they'll be occupying their equipment is going to occupy one of the bays in the old public safety headquarters for a period of time, and then the long-term plan, regardless of whether this sat in tourism or Parks and Rec, was to convert or bulldoze and replace the old Johnson Electric building there on the Greenway. We think that's the better location for Greenway support vehicles and personnel to be there at that location. So that was part of the discussion we had at the Greenwood offsite about CPSD4 funding for the Greenway, and JD and his crew were working through some potential different options of what that would look like in the long term. So, but in the near term, we do want to have a physical separation, if you will, to show that they've moved, they're under the purview of tourism, if the council approves that action.
Any other questions for JD or Ms. Cliff? All right, are there any citizen comments? Yes, ma'am. You gotta come up, talk to the microphone now. Say your name and address.
My name is Sandy Taylor. I live
Yep.
at 1702 Georgia Avenue. They're not going to be, when they're doing this, these guys are not going to be like taking a deduction in pay or lose their benefits or anything, correct? I mean, it's a lateral move for these employees.
They just have a different supervisor.
Right. But, okay, so what is it, and what is the difference? Why would they go with the tourism?
Well, that's a good question, because we feel like Parks and Recreation is about recreational programs for our youth, right?
Okay.
And our adults.
I
And our
understand.
parks.
Correct.
The Greenway is almost a separate entity because it's not a park.
Right.
It's not necessarily a program that's managed by the Parks and Rec. It really is a tourism. We have people who travel from Aiken, Greenville,
Yeah.
Waynesboro to come to the Greenway. And
Okay,
as
I
we
understand.
continue to talk about trying to move the Greenway into the downtown, the idea is we want it to be recreational, but we want it to be kind of economic catalyst. Where, like, for example, we've had businesses move here because of the Greenway.
Okay, well, that makes sense then. I
Yeah.
was just wondering why there would be a difference in the two. But if it's a lateral move,
We want the Parks and Rec folk to focus on what's
Right.
most important, which is our recreation program and our parks.
and I live right next door to a park, and I do commend them. Because I live
Yeah.
right next door to Bunting.
Yes, that's a great, I love, it's great to have
Yeah.
my grandchild there, yeah. That's a
All right,
great
thank
question,
you.
Sandy,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Appreciate it. Sandy's becoming a regular, Scott, nice to have you with us, Sandy. All right, any council discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'm gonna ask for a vote, all in favor? All right, that's unanimous, thank you.
I don't,
I'm
for
sorry,
item number 9?
for 9?
I don't have, oh, I do have.
Yeah,
apologize.
Councilman Buck and
Yep.
Councilman, yeah, thank you. All right, and item 10 is pretty much, we already talked about this, but I'm going to go through it. Tourism ordinance number 2026-16, authorizing restructuring the tourism department, incorporate Greenway operations, staff, facilities, and programs. Do I have a motion to approve this ordinance on first reading?
So moved.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Toole, second, Mr. Buck, thank you. Ms. Clifford's already shared, talked about that. We've had citizen comments, so unless there's any particular council discussion, I'm going to ask for a vote. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Very good, thank you. All right, item 11, resolution number 2026-35, designating the valet service areas within Riverside Village. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Toole, is there a second? Is there a second? All right, Ms. Carpenter? Anything you'd like to share about this, Mr. Clifford or Mr. McCollum?
So I'll start and then turn over to JD. He's got the most depth in the bench on this one. For the council members that were not here during the study session, we had the valet vendor that actually came and made a presentation to the council that showed what kind of the rates were, how the program has been successful, how many folks on an average night are using the valet service, and then there were some specific asks from the valet to be able to increase serviceability for the Riverside Village, and that's what is before you this evening as far as the resolution. But I'll turn it over to JD for the further discussion.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This resolution comes along with the ask from the valet presentation you heard last week, and for the council members that weren't there, Mr. Clifford encapsulated that perfectly. They're kind of giving us an update on what they're doing, how it operates, and their success rates. And I don't want to say they're a victim of their own success, but they have done really well. And one thing that has come into play, because they're also parking consultants as well. So one thing that has come into play is the area that they operate in has become kind of a bottleneck. And in their recommendation, they'd like to expand their operations to include the circle that is right there by the Sharon Jones Amphitheater when they operate, because they have run into issues of, folks that are not part of the valet service trying to come in there, and it creates kind of a bottleneck. And this resolution would also delineate where they use in the hotel parking deck, which is what they're currently doing for where they store the cars that are checked into the valet service. The so what if you're not using the valet service, if you're a citizen that goes down to Riverside Village and you're not going to pay for valet parking, the so what of this is it helps with congestion. So what we're trying to do with everything we're bringing to you in Riverside Village when it relates to parking is we're trying to bring order to chaos down there, and every single action that we bring to you is one step closer to getting it. We'll never get it perfect, but we're going to move in that direction. And so what this does is it kind of brings more order to that area. And also one thing of note that they mentioned was this would include a DoorDash area as well, which is very popular for the businesses and citizens that want to use these restaurants on a order basis. So that would include an area for that to be designated as well.
Any questions for them?
Actually, Mr. Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, one of the other economic development discussions we've had involves a potential restaurateur going into what we know as parcels G and H, which is the large space that overlooks the Sharon Jones Amphitheater. And one of their original hangups in talking to the developer was kind of the parking plans. But I would tell you that the valet, the centralized valet, has really moved the ball as far as the restaurant moving forward with the developer to potentially move into that space. So I think we're seeing that, the restaurants in particular, and to a lesser extent, the hotel is benefiting from the valet service that's down there.
Yeah, I thought the number that really kind of struck me, besides the number of their averaging on Saturday and Sunday, is part of why this is important is the fact that they do groups of 3. So the first 3 cars are coming out pretty fast, like 5 minutes. Groups, the seconds, 4, 5, and 6, a little longer, but by your 7th and 8th, 9th car who wants to use it, the waits have been up to 25 minutes, which is, that's pretty long. And they feel like with this, they're going to allow those 7 spaces where the number is, it frees that up. So if we're going to continue to go with a valet program like that, to me, it makes sense, so.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that. So, to me, the valet service is designed to take cars out of that area. So they have a space in the parking garage. So to limit the general public 3 less spaces for them to have, I'm not sure I agree with that.
What do you mean?
Councilman, I would tell you the feedback we've gotten, because we spent a fair amount of time looking at Riverside Village, is that the parking spaces we're talking about are largely encumbered by employees. They're not encumbered by the normal, folks that are coming in to go to a restaurant. We have long-term employees and managers and owners that typically are filling those spaces. So those are the folks who are going to be most impacted by the loss to the valet.
Well, the parking should be for the customers. I would think that if I was running a business there, I want space for my customers. So I think that's the business owner's issue there. I personally think that the valet parking should be as far away from the area that it's needed. That's the whole idea of the valet parking, is to reduce traffic
Well, the valet
where everybody
parking-
wants to be.
The parking is away.
Yeah, but they're
then
going to
just
take
put-
3 more spaces away from it.
Well, they're just going to you just now have, there aren't going to be parking cars there while you're at restaurants. They're just going to have a line so they can get those out faster.
I understand that.
But it's just flowing. It's a flow process. It's not like they're going to use those apart. You're not going to go use valet and they're going to park your car at one of those 7 for the next hour and a half. Those are going to be designed when you call them. They're going to have your car coming up. They're going to have Pat's car, my car. It's going to be like that. That's all that's for.
They refer that as a staging area is what they're referring it to. So it would be,
Yeah, it's a flow.
you wouldn't be parking there.
And that's my only concern is parking. We all know it's an issue, and we're taking away spots. It's my only concern.
I think the valet parking is outstanding. I
agree.
struggle with taking more spaces away. And if the employees are parking there, that shouldn't be allowed either. They should move somewhere else. That's my opinion.
But you can't legislate.
You can tell your employees where to park. You certainly can. We do. I mean, I do. If I have an event, my employees don't park in the guest slot. They park somewhere else.
A little bit more to it, I think. All right. Any other council discussion? All right, hearing none, I'm going to ask for a vote. All in favor? Okay, that's 4 and 1. Okay, thank you. Item 12, Information Technology, Resolution Number 2036-36, authorizing a professional service contract for the CPST-4 Safety and Security Improvements for the municipal building. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Was that Mr. Buck?
Yeah, Mr. Phelan first.
Oh, Ms. Phelan, okay.
Second.
God, you and David sound alike.
Yep, I'll second.
Second, Mr. Buck. Thank you, sir. All right. Anything you'd like to share about this, Ms. Clifford?
This is a reminder for the council. This is also one of the projects that we discussed during the Greenwood offsite. That's to add badging access to certain areas here in the municipal building. That includes building standards, public works, the planning and development section specifically to deal with code enforcement, and also for HR. It also retrofits and improves the existing cameras that are here in the parking lot and into the MEDAC parking deck. And so the vast majority of these items are available via state contract. The only thing we'd have to go out to bid for is for some lobby improvements over at planning and development to put the kind of the glass enclosure up, much like you see in the finance department, but because it's curved, you can't just buy a piece of glass. It's got to be custom done, so that we'll have to go out to bid for. But all the badging systems and cameras are all on state contract, and that's how we would go through with the procurement there.
Any questions from Mr. Clifford? All right. Any citizen comments? Any council discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, very good, thank you. Administrative report, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I have none at this time.
Okay. Item 14, presentations, communications, recognition of visitors. At this time, citizens may speak to mayor and city council regarding matters not listed on the agenda. So if you're interested, I ask you to raise your hand and come on down. Miss Sandy, come on down. No, I like it. You have a nice smile.
Okay, now, my name is Sandy Taylor. I live at 1702 Georgia Avenue. I am here kind of can I talk about tourism as it applies to something else? Sure. Okay, perfect. Good evening, Mayor.
Just can't talk about as far as what we voted on.
No,
Yeah.
this is totally opposite.
Yes, okay.
It says, "Good evening, mayors and the council members. My name is Sandy Taylor, and I want to speak tonight about litter, tourism, and community pride." I understand that one of the topics, of course, tonight was about the tourism, and that's exactly why this fits in right now. Before moving here, I lived in Clearwater, Florida, and I lived on Gulf to Bay. And Gulf to Bay is the corridor from Tampa Airport to the beach. You could not get to the beach from Tampa without going past my front door. So that is a gateway. And I know what gateways are, how beautiful they should be. And I'd like to say that because I haven't lived in a gateway area, that tourism doesn't start when we get to the hotel or we go to our festival or we go to our relatives. It starts on that gateway when you're driving from the airport, from the train station, wherever, or you're just driving off of the expressway and you're coming into town. And you know what? Our initial 1 mile, we got a great gateway for 1 mile. But it's when you get further into our community that litter becomes very obvious. And we cannot prevent people from staying, you can only stay in the first 1 mile of our town, you know? And so, I'd like to know that I had a personal experience with some litter the other day. I was coming down Clay Pit Road, because you all know I volunteer at the shelter, and a city employee threw a Chick-fil-A bag out of the city truck. Okay. I'm not picking on him or anything like that, but it's funny how we normalize littering.
Yep.
And I see it in this community a lot. I see it even more across the river, but we share that problem. And I live on a corner that people just think it's great to throw your 5 o'clock beer can on. But so I think what I would like to offer is, this is a problem, but I don't come to you with just problems. I come to you with a slight solution possibly. I've noticed one sign for an Adopt a Highway down the street from where I live, and actually it's ironic because it's the dirtiest corner in this county, I think, and it has the Adopt a Highway sign. So are we actively using that program?
Yeah, well, you're talking about, you live in the actual county.
I live in the city. I live,
Oh, you're in the city,
the
okay.
corner I'm talking
Because
about.
Clay Pit is, that's what's throwing me, I didn't know that was in the city.
There's an Adopt a Highway sign in the city.
Okay.
Yeah. It's right down the
Yeah,
street from where I live.
that highway, I can't answer that question.
Yeah, it's right there, and it's like literally the worst corner I've ever seen for littering.
Now, we work with, what's the group out of Aiken, Aiken Beautiful, what is it, Jamie, what is that group? Aiken, Keep Aiken Beautiful?
Right,
Keep Aiken
okay. Well, I don't know, maybe somebody just stuck that sign there out of the sheer irony. Maybe someone found it on the side of the street and stuck it there.
Let me tell you a couple things. So, we all are big concerned about litter.
Right.
So before you moved here, for 3 years in a row, we actually had a contest with Augusta called the Border Bash, Trash Bash.
Right.
And who could pick up the most trash.
Right.
And we went throughout the city. And I will tell you, in September, and I don't have the date in front of me, but one of our local churches, Victory Baptist, is going to be doing a service project. So
Perfect.
they're going to be coming throughout there picking up trash. So I would tell you, we have another citizen, Michelle, I can't think of Michelle's last name, but she has spearheaded her own group to
Good.
pick up trash. So we actually had a day, we went to Carsville and did it. So yes, we've been talking about needing citizens to spearhead those type of projects. So we would totally support you in doing that because we have focused on that.
Because one of my solutions is, for example, I walk my dogs. I live on Georgia Avenue, so I take a trash bag and a picker with me, and in like a 2-block, I can almost fill that
Yes.
13 gallon within 2 blocks when I'm walking my dogs.
Amen.
That's not right.
No.
And another solution would be, we always catch people doing stuff wrong. You're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. Well, as city council members and as our leaders in our community, including like the police and the fire force, public safety, if you catch someone doing something right, like picking up litter, you know how much it would mean to that person if, Dave Buxton said, hey, that's great, thanks a lot, I caught you doing something great. Because the reward is there, And it's like I said, it's normalized that we litter. And I do want this community to succeed. I chose to live here. I wasn't born here, I came here with my own two, I don't know why.
We thank you for that.
But I'm just saying, and so I am very willing, and I will I'll get that number from you in the future with the Michelle person, and maybe
Yeah.
we can, because it's simple as picking up a trash bag when you walk your dog.
Okay.
And walking out with them, because it is a beautiful community, but it
Yes.
starts, the further out you go, the worse it gets. And we can't control where our tourists go.
When you start looking at trash, you find it.
Oh, God, yeah, I know. But
Very
that's all
good.
I have is this
Thank you,
tourism and
Sarah.
trash.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. All right, I got a couple comments. So council, any,
I just want to piggyback on what she was
Yeah,
talking
go
about. We have committees for all types of things. Why can't we have like a litter committee?
that's not a bad idea. Make a note. Need somebody to run it. All right. Anything good with the order? Ms. Pat, you got anything good for the order? You sure? Yeah. All right. Just want to, and also want to let folks know, in your water bill, you should be getting this week's, has it gone out the first, for everybody would have it by now? Hometown highlights, there's a lot of good stuff, and in the Mayor's Matters, I just want to let folks know, as a reminder, council will begin budgeting discussions in September. You'll have an opportunity to share with council at the public hearing as well as a public comment period at each ordinance reading once those dates are confirmed. So, and again, remember, you can pull up on the city website the Friday before our study session and the Friday before our city council to see the agenda item so you know what it is. So there's a lot of good information on here. So we continue to try to communicate because transparency is important. So we're striving to do that. So just want to make people be aware of that. The last thing is Nike Peach Jam. This is interesting. Nike Peach Jam's 30 years. Our country 250 years. Guess what this year is for the city of North Augusta, Ms. Pat? 120 years anniversary. What do you think about that? So anyway, good stuff. Thank y'all for being here. We stand adjourned.